nowadays have a rather sophisticated understanding of the dynamics of Taiwan internal politics and public opinion. They understood well that it would only be counterproductive to push the political talk before a great majority of Taiwanese voters are really ready. And I believe that a great majority are not ready for such an undertaking. However, Beijing does have some more reachable goal on its agenda for the next 4 years. It will vigorously push for phasing out of the U.S. arms sale to Taiwan, although most of the pressure will be applied to Washington rather than Taiwan. Beijing will try to build up and expand its tie, interpersonal tie, organizational tie with Taiwan local elites. Just last month, the executive vice president of ERA, that's 海协会, Mr. Zheng Lizong, conduct a field trip to Taiwan, visit every small town and city, and also dole out, all the goodies. I think that will become, a common practice for the next 4 years. It will try to strengthen its tie with Taiwan local elites, grassroots NGO, including religious group, and try to build up a rapport relationship with Taiwan's economic constituency from north all the way down to the south. Beijing will also try its best to induce DPP to shelf. I'm sorry, there's a typo here. Yeah, its pro-independence platform. It will also continue to exert a firm grip over Taiwan's international space, although it will, for appearance and as a gesture of goodwill, it will yield just a little bit more space to Taipei, but it would do so at major pace. For domestic political development, I argue that we are witnessing a consolidating two-party system, despite the fact that TSU get almost 9% popular vote for the PR list, but I believe that that is not a very significant event, from a long-term point of view. Under new electoral system, which was introduced in 2008, we have the two-ballot system, and you have the district vote versus the countrywide PR list. I think the two major parties have consolidated their dominance in their respective political camp and pretty much squeeze out their minor ally. The DPP this time at least retained its traditional electoral strength in the LY, but it's still a mile away from building up a winning coalition, unless it's willing to do a major adjustment to its political platform. And also, a somewhat worrisome trend is this solidification of the demarcation between the North and South. This is the political landscape, right? It's very difficult. This is based on the LY district, okay? It's very difficult for the DPP to win seats in the central and northern part of Taiwan, while it's extremely difficult for the KMT to win seats in the southern part of Taiwan. The only three, small Buddha, right, appear on the southern half of this island. So this demarcation, geographic demarcation, unfortunately, has been pretty much, entrenched. But this is what what I describe as the consolidation of the two-party system. in terms of district election, that this time the TSU basically gave up. Basically, they didn't feel any candidate in the district. Although for that reason they also got simply vote, for the second ballot, which turned out to be a very smart move. But I still think that the two minor parties, their political future remain precarious. And this time, although both of them, they got 3 seats in a while, which enabled them to, to be, to be independent party caucus, which will have some voice in the legislative process. However, I think neither the TSU nor the People's First Party will be able to outlive the political longevity of their respective charismatic founder, namely Li Denghui and James Soong. And to sum up, I will argue that for the next 4 years, it's not a cross-strait, but the domestic agenda will consume most political capital and energy. I think it's a very tough challenge for the KMT government, to overcome the resistance to economic openness. I'm not talking about the beef issue. I'm talking about the overall liberalization and opening up of protected sector in Taiwan. But these reforms are taken as a necessary step, for Taiwan to speed up the free trade agreement negotiation with major trading partners, starting with Singapore, New Zealand, and probably followed by India and Australia, and eventually, that we prepare Taiwan to knock on the door of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is a more ambitious, free trade, a comprehensive, free trade agreement endorsed by Obama administration. Another daunting challenge that mass invasion have to take up is how to accelerate the restructuring of the economy, to upgrade and diversify Taiwan export. If you compare the profile of Taiwan export with South Korea, I think Taiwan obviously is quite vulnerable. There's too much concentration in 4 or 5 major sectors, such as memory chips, notebook computer, cell phone, and also LCD monitor. And in all those sectors, Taiwan face not only fierce competition from South Korea, but also emerging competition from mainland China as well, and also the profit margin for Taiwanese company in those sectors has becoming thinner and thinner over time. Also, I think Ma's inflation, if he really cared for his reputation in the history book, then he has to deal with the worrisome demographic trend. We all know that the reproduction rate of Taiwan is the lowest in the world, around 1%. You need 2%,
one child, you mean per family?
One child per female, during her productive age, okay, per female. And also, there's a rising expectation that the government hasn't been doing enough to provide the younger generation with a level playing field, and opportunity for upward mobility. And last but not the least, the government is expected to address the growing income inequality with extensive tax reform. But you know how difficult it is. You have very similar kind of challenge in this country. And also one of the measures that will improve income inequality is to upgrade the productivity of the service industry, which is going to be where the most jobs will be created. And also how to rectify the misallocation of human resources. We have too many college graduates, and there's a big mismatch between the demand from the corporate side and supply from the human resource side. So these are the really heavy-duty agenda away mind Joe, and that will consume most of the energy and time. I'll stop right here. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I knew it would be a very authoritative and wide-ranging overview and analysis, and we were not disappointed in the least by your scope or depth of analysis. So now we're open for questions. Ming, go ahead.
Now, since the inauguration of my second term is May 20th,
yes,
but he already took stock of the electoral result for personnel realignment. His new vice president was the outgoing prime minister. So could you comment on the new cabinet, particularly the new premier with the financial economic background, as to fitting your so-called challenge I had on the domestic
I think in a way you answer your question yourself. I said these are the most salient challenge. Mostly are domestic issues, mostly are social economic issues. I think that's why Chen Tong was picked to be the premier. And also, although the officially the second term won't start until May 20th, but for all practical purpose, Ma is already in his second term. So the inauguration, second inauguration, won't be very visible event at all. I believe that he actually was going to have a very low profile inauguration. Doesn't want to waste too much time and money on that ceremonial event.